Hello everyone, welcome to the explanation video for the 576 block smaller 6x6 seamless cave door, which is Slimeblockless. So this door is created by 3 persons, me, not Anthony, and the fourth was 11. So if you haven't seen the door, so here's it closing. And opening. So yeah, I'll also show you this version as well, I guess. So just some backstory, I guess. So this door, or the record title of this door, I should say, it's actually one of my first record titles. So my first record is the 672 block 6x6 seamless cave door, which is also Slimeblockless, and that is actually my first record ever. But then that got beaten like 2 years ago by shaving a layer, and then here now I present this door by shaving one more layer, and is some big thanks to these two people that developed some very nice sequences and made this door basically possible and very fast actually to finish it. So yeah, I guess that's all the intro of this door. So as per usual to the previous explanation videos that I made, so this video will be separated into 3 parts, where in which I will explain to you basically, so the first part would be the timings and working principle. The second part would be, how to create your piston or powering layouts, and also do some sequencing and input joins. And the third part would be the planning and redstone analysis. And previous videos, I have the habit of creating a document listing all of the questions that I'm going to explain myself, and for this video it's the same. So you can find all the related resources in the description below, and you can also find the work downloads in the description below as well. So yeah, make sure to check that out. And of course, all those resource packs, all those mods that I use in this video will also be included in the description. So yeah, so just check that out, yes, if you're interested. So yeah, I guess let's get started. So the first section would be the timings and working principle. So what I'm going to answer is, how does the door work? So explaining to you the working principle, and what are the timings needed to make the extenders work. Because timings is a very crucial part in knowing how the door works. So besides of knowing the general concept of how the door works, you also want to know how you would time things such that they would work out as you plan. So it's a very important learning process, timings wise. So yeah, let's go. So question 1 would be to explain the timings regarding the bottom flush piston folded double piston extender. So I have separated into several modules, so easier for you to see, I guess, hopefully. So this is the bottom flush piston double piston extender. So basically does that. So this piston will push out here to here, and then this block will push out a bit later, and then this piston would spit this block down. And for the opening, this will get grabbed, and this flush piston will also get grabbed downwards. And once the slider goes down, this covers up, and then this block will get retracted. So that's basically the general concept. But then what are the timings actually? So before I explain the timings, it's important for you to know how the extender works on itself, I guess, because there's one key aspect that you would need to know before you start to learn the timings, I guess. And I guess I will place an updated piston here. So basically what happens is that we would spit this out. That's from another circuit, and then we'll power this 4-tick repeater. And what happens would be something like this. And the opening would be the same thing. Spit this, then do this. So this works very nicely. And the reason why this works is, well, this piston will be activated by this 4-tick repeater. And then we have this observer that will power this piston, and not this piston actually, because of piston priorities. I previously called them racing condition in 2-3, but people don't like it, I guess. So you don't have to know the name exactly. You just all you need to know is that it will be prioritized that the front piston will extend first, because this piston is pushing this piston to this position, and when you power this piston earlier than the piston arrives and gets to power, yes, so it will always be the front piston that extends. So yeah, that's basically that. And all we need to do here is just to close this up and then have this observer to power this piston, essentially. So yeah, that's basically the concept. So making use of racing condition, or if people don't like to call it piston priorities, then you would have some very nice and simple circuits that you can control this extender. And now let's examine the timings, I guess. So the first thing we need to do is to pull this, and this is done by pushing the slider up, because there's a capacitor here, and then with this thus powering. So when this slider pushes up, it will instantly retract. So this is after 1 tick from the input, or 2 game ticks if people like to use game ticks. So I usually use redstone ticks. So if you like to use game ticks, just multiply by 2 by yourself. So yeah, so 1 tick here, and so at 1 tick this will start to retract, and then because we need to pulse the bottom piston first, so that will be done at 2 ticks, because 1, 2 here, because this is dropper. And then we have this very neat circuit which fits in perfectly into the space. So we have this piston goes to this observer, and then 4-tick repeater, so 5 ticks here, or 10 game ticks. So after 10 game ticks or 5 ticks, we have this piston that will push. And then as we previously had the circuits that it would need an additional 1 tick or 2 game tick to power at this position. So let's see if this circuit achieves that. So we have 1, 2, but then this piston is at its extended position, or observer is at its extended position. So because this piston gives a double pulse, or I should say a quick double pulse, basically you can just consider it as adding 2 more ticks of delay, or 4 game ticks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then when this piston needs to extend this observer, it will need 2 ticks or 4 game ticks to power this block. So the result is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this indeed powers at 6 ticks or 12 game ticks, which is exactly 1 tick or 2 game tick after this delay. So it works nicely. And then here, you also notice that this 4-tick repeater also butt powers this dropper here. So this is where the piston priority comes in handy, because it will always be the front piston that extends first, so we don't have to worry about that problem. But for the retraction, so when this piston retracts at 9 or 18 game ticks, this dropper will get deactivated because of the updates from here. And then we also have an observer that will pulse the bottom piston. So basically what happens would be that. And And then when the slider pushes down, what will happen is that first off, this will close up, which doesn't really do anything. This will also push, which is actually kind of a bad thing, but we don't care that much because it won't really break the door. But what's helpful is that first we have this observer that will go down and then power this dust, and then pulse this piston via QC. And we also have this observer that would pulse the dropper, pulse this observer to this piston, and this is one tick after the piston pulses, so it's quite nice. So if I push this button, you'll see that this pushes and this pushes, so very nice. And for the opening, the exact same thing happens, but then instead we also need to consider that this observer would go up to QC this dropper, and then to this observer, and this block will get retracted now. And then the extender works as per closing, so it's the same thing. And then when the slider pushes down, what will happen is that we don't really care about this powering now, but all we need to care about is this observer again pulsing this dust, so pulsing this piston, and then this piston will push the block back out due to this block push down, and this dust is powered. So that's basically that. So that's the bottom flush piston folded double piston extender explained. It's a long name. So we can go to question 2, which is now to explain the top part. Oh, also the other side is the same for the bottom part, but then the top part is a bit different. So what happens at the top part? For the top part, well, for here, we would detect from the slider moving. So after 2 ticks, this will pulse. So yeah, it will retract, and then this pushes up. This observer pushes up to here. So that's after 2 ticks or 4 game ticks. So 3 because adding 1. So this is actually workable because this piston will always pull the block out before this piston pushes the piston out. So yeah, just like this. And then what happens is that from the top doubles, there will be a long pulse that will power these 2 1-tick repeaters, and then we will have this piston that would get pushed to here, and then due to again racing condition, or as people want to call it more, piston priorities, we will have this observer that powers both of these pistons, but the priority suggests that the front piston will pulse instead of the back one. And then once this piston, gets retracted, it will obviously be this piston that powers. So for the retraction, it will work because this will grab, this goes back, and then this will grab, and then it would go back to here. So to see it in action would be like this. And then I made the slider automatically go back down. So what will happen is that this piston will drop this observer to here. So after 2 ticks, this will power, and then after 3 ticks, because there are 3 observers, and then we are detecting it, so it's instant. So after 3 observers, this will pulse. So it's the same thing as the bottom. 2 and 3 is 1 tick apart, so everything works. And for the opening, it will be the same thing, like so. And for the right side, let's just examine if it will work as well. So this observer goes up, so it will be after 2 ticks that this retracts, and then 1 more observer here, so it will be 3 ticks with this to power, and the rest is just the same thing. This goes up, and then here is identical to here. The only difference is this circuit to this circuit. So yeah. And also segueing into question 3, this is actually quite kind of short question. So just explain if the top extenders, both of them, are in sync? The answer is yes. First off, this is identical as I previously explained. And then the second one would be this is 2 ticks because we are detecting the movement of the slider, which is basically instant, but then we add 2 ticks here compared to here. Here we instead move the observer to power the dust line. So this is also 2 ticks actually, and so the delay is exactly the same, nothing has changed. So yeah, that's basically that. So that's question 3 also explained. And now question 4. So question 4 is on the bottom double piston extenders. And to explain the timings essentially. But then before explaining timings, I think it's important that you know this property first. So when we give a double pulse to a piston, if we give a double pulse to a piston, it would give this piston a triple pulse. So that's important. And then we can make use of that to build a very nice double extender because this will already work. Because this is a triple pulse, so it's an odd number of pulses, so this will retract. And then because this is a 2-tick delay, it will auto retract by itself. And the reason for this to be able to auto retract by itself, we can examine from timings. So when this piston extends, we call it time 0. So this powers from 0 to 1. This powers from 2 to 3. So 0 to 1, so at time 1, this retracts, but then this piston is only able to be extended at time 2.5 or 5 game ticks. Because this is 2 to 3, this can extend at 2.5, it will update itself and do its auto retraction thing. So it's able to retract by itself. So that's why it works. And now, after explaining this module, we can go back to here and see why the bottom double works. So the bottom double relies on the flush piston, the bottom piston actually. And if you recall, the bottom piston is actually powered twice. One is from this 2-tick delay from the input. One is from how many ticks? This is 5, but then this is 4-tick pulse, so 5, so 9, 9, 10. So at 2 and 10, this piston will power, which is sufficient enough for this double to work by itself. And we will see that works. There's a side effect that this observer would derp this singles, but it's fine because this is a double pulse, so no matter how many double pulses you power, those singles will retract nicely. So yeah, that's basically the bottom doubles. So we would now discuss question 5 regarding on the side doubles. And it's important to note that the side doubles are built different for both sides. So anyway, so let's talk about the same thing. So this is the same as per here. So how this works is that when this slider goes up, this powers at 2. This dropper would get QC'd powered, and then this observer adds 1 more tick of delay, and this piston that will be pushed to here powers at 3. Like so. And for the retraction, so again, this observer will power via this dropper to this piston. So this powers at 2, and then this powers at 3, and because it's powering via conductor, this would successfully retract this piston instead of this piston extending. Next, we look at this dust. This dust will power at 1 actually, because this is a block, not an observer. So this powers at 1. And note that it's not 1.5. That will be the timings of a piston, but not for all other components. So it powers at 1, not 1.5. So at 1, this power, so 1 tick, 2, 3, 4. So that's 4 ticks of delay. So is this sufficient enough? The answer is yes, because this powers at this observer goes down, powers at 2, and this powers at 4, which is sufficient. If you recall the snappers extenders, or you can just use some basic piston timings, because the piston powers from 2 to 3, retracts, and the front piston is able to extend from 4.5. So this powers from 4 to 5. So 4.5 is within 4 to 5. So it will be successful to retract like so. So yeah, so that's the same part, or the common part, between the left and the right sides. But what's not common is these two doubles compared to these two. So let's explain the left side first. So the left side, you see some very funky things. Is that because this observer is only able to power this piston, we also need this observer here. But then you see this observer is actually detecting from a double poles during the slider goes up. So what will happen is this. Even though this is a double poles, the back pistons cannot retract the front pistons, and this is completely predictable. We can count it from timings because it's detecting from the slider going up. So this at 1, this is at 2. This will power from this will power at 1 and at 3. So 1 to 2 and 3 to 4. So just to illustrate a bit better, we can use some signs. So this will be from 2 to 3, and this is 1 to 2, 3 to 4. So since this is 2 to 3, these pistons can only be able to get retracted at 4.5, because 3 plus 1.5. But then, yeah, so because 4.5 is larger than 4 here, so the front pistons aren't able to get retracted by the double poles, or the second of the double poles of the back pistons. So yeah, they aren't able to retract it. So yeah, so that's basically the reason why, even though this is a double poles, well, it's actually by an accident, not really an accident, but it's just necessary that we power this dust located here. So even though this is double poles, it will still be able to do the extension. And for the retraction, so yeah, detecting from slider again, and this time both of these give single pulses, so we don't have to really care. And then this observer won't be able to extend this piston. Instead, this piston will get grabbed because we are powering via conductor. Yeah, basically. So yeah, this will be able to retract this, and for the retraction, we have some separate observers that will power things. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a sufficient delay, because this retracts at 2 and this powers at 4. So very sufficient indeed. And meanwhile, here is the same delay actually, because this does has 1 tick delay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So both of these pistons are actually going to be in sync. So as we can see here. Meanwhile, for the right side, we have this 4-tick repeater instead. I'll explain the differences of the left side and right side, why we need to do that. But then for now, all you need to know is that we have different setups. So this is a very classical double extender that I've already taught in, I don't know, 1-6 or 7 or 8, I don't know. Basically the piston extender video. So it's a very classical one, and what it does essentially is this. So you see, the top one is able to retract it by itself, so extend and retract, essentially. But the bottom one needs some help because this observer can only QC here, but this bottom piston, there's nothing. So we rely on this. So again, 1 tick, 2, 3, 4, 4 ticks of delay, and then this will be able to retract. And it's actually the same delay as here, except here we use this dust, and here we use this 2 tick. So here we detect from dust, here we just receive power from the dust, I should say. So yeah. So that's the timings regarding the side doubles. So now for question 6, we talk about the top doubles. But this time we don't really need to know the timings, we only need to know the working principle. So this is should be a very familiar circuit for those of you who have watched 2-10. Because this is exactly the same as the Willux double piston extender. So what happens essentially is that when you pulse the top piston, it would be able to spit the block out to here as a double extender. The reason why is that, so let me slow down the game, I guess. So when this piston goes here, you see this minecart pulls up, and then this observer would detect the pressure plate and give a 1 tick pulse to the bottom piston. And then this piston will get powered by the pressure plate, of course. And then when, for the retraction, I guess we see that again. So yeah, the pressure plate would power this top piston. And then, of course, the pressure plate will depower after the minecart drops back down, but then it will also pull this minecart now, and then the pressure plate now instead powers the front piston instead of the back piston due to, again, racing condition or piston powering priorities. So that's why it will be able to self-retract by itself, and you will see it working something like this, because all of them are powered in sync. So the prerequisites are just to pulse the top pistons. So you don't want to directly power them like this, because of the player inputs that will cause the pistons to be not in sync with the observer, essentially. So the observers won't be able to power the front pistons here. And you would know that as basically input bug. So yeah, so that's question 6 explained, and for question 7 is a very peculiar question, because as we have discovered, we have this dust that is detected by this observer. Meanwhile here we just detect the powering, and this will be necessary because of a later circuit that will have an observer here. So we don't want to make a clock. If we use this circuit, it will be a clock. And now, the emphasis here is to explain why we need signal strength of 15. If you can see on the right side, power 15. And here, 15. The reason is quite simple. This observer goes down here and powers this dropper. This dust powers at 1. This dropper gets power at 2, unpowers at 3, so as this dust. So if this dust is any other signal strength, At 1, it would turn on with a signal strength less than 15. At 2, it will be signal strength 15. At 3, it will go back to its weaker signal strength. So this would actually create a double pulse to this observer. And that's why, double pulse would cause this ring to not be able to retract and basically break. So yeah, we need signal strength of 15. So signal strength of 15 basically prevents this observer from doing any funky stuff to this dust by changing its signal strength to a stronger signal strength. And the observer cannot detect the change in signal strength basically. So yeah. So that's question 7. So question 8, we start to the territory of the triple. So we want to explain the timings of the bottom for the triple. And let's just see what actually happens in this circuit. So we detect from this piston actually. So it powers this piston. And after 4 ticks, you can verify 1, 2, 3, 4. So from this observer, it will power this piston. After 4 ticks, it will also power this piston. And into this circuit essentially. And then we'll also have something like here. And what that would result in is something like this. So we have this, 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 this. Retraction would work as well. Like so. And to really see why this works, we would need to know the timings a lot better. So it will be neat for us to actually, you know what, we don't have to. We just rely on this. Or maybe not, because it's kind of hard to see. Yeah, so let's say the first pulse of this observer is from 1 to 2. Then the second pulse would be 3 to 4. And then third pulse would be 5 to 6. Last pulse is 7 to 8. That makes sense, right? Hopefully. And then we can just oops. We can also write down what will happen here. So basically, at the first pulse, this will push. So the first pulse would push, but then this is 2 to 3, and then we will have so this is 2 to 3. So the first pulse is a push, and then what happens is that this observer would get detected by this observer. So this is 2. So this would be 4. And then at 4, this piston will power. The reason why is because this is from 3 to 4. And when it deactivates at 4, it also updates this piston, which is actually getting quasi-powered by this observer via this block at 4. So this piston would push, actually, at 4. And it will also block this piston essentially from getting power at 5 to 6, because this piston would only retract at 5.5 because there's nothing really to update it again, I think, or it doesn't really matter. Let's see, 3 to 4, 5 to 6, 7 to 8, 9 to 10. It'll be easier for us to see here. Oh, actually, I think it will get updated at 5 as well because of this here, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is because is this here. So from 4 to 5.5, sorry, from 4 to 5 essentially. But then this is normal piston. So at 5.5, this observer would be able to get pushed at this at here, which would gladly get pushed from 6 to 7 by this bottom piston. So in conclusion, what will happen if this is not confusing enough is that this will try to push, can't work. This will pulse, this will go here, this is blocked. This will pulse again, and this will pulse again. So this is the third and fourth pulses. So that is the extension. And for the retraction, we have this observer that will finally be able to push here. So let's see how the same timings would facilitate for the retraction. Now from 1 to 2, this would retract, and this is actually a 2-tick pulse. So here, 1. So there's a 1 tick here, but then after 1 tick, we also power this here. So this is actually a 2-tick pulse, so this will actually retract it. But then we let's not care about that. So here, basically 1 to 2, this will retract. 2 to 3, this would give a 1-tick pulse here, but then this observer won't get pushed. Yeah, so yeah, 2 to 3, this would push, but then now 3 to 4, this would be able to push again. So what happens is that 3 to 4, this will push again. So this piston arrives at 4 because this is a 1-tick pulse. So the piston will get dropped at 4. And now notice that this observer still powers at 4 because of this pulse. So 2 and then 2 ticks of delay. So this powers at 4 to 5, and then we also have 6 to 7 actually. So normally this piston, so because this piston drops at 4, so it's able to extend. But normally if there are no other things that updates it, it would only be able to retract at 5.5. But there is actually something to update it. It's from this here, the third pulse, so 5 to 6. So this piston will update this piston such that it will actually retract exactly at 5. And then this piston would be able to push at 6.5. So, which it gladly does via 6 to 7. So 6.5 is within 6 to 7. So it will pulse here. So this is only be able to be pulled at 6.5 as well, which it will be pulled from 7 to 8, so the last pulse. So you basically do that, and then we have this, and you've seen the same trick as per the double extender, which is retract by itself. So yeah, that's basically that, and perhaps the most confusing part of the door. So basically to explain why the triple works. And it's a very hard to understand thing, and I know, so If you still don't understand, you can, just look a bit further, I guess. Take some time to settle the timings down and try to evaluate by yourself again why this works. And yeah, even for me, this is actually confusing enough. But yeah, timings do take quite a lot of time for you to understand for some situations. And don't worry if it takes more time for you. Just make sure that you're able to understand the logic. But then we basically explain why the setup would work. So all it takes is this and this. So yeah, that's basically the bottom triple explained in this timings. So yeah. Now for question 9. So explain the timings regarding the side triples, which are also different, but then their working principle is kind of quite similar, I would say. So let's explain the left side first. So from this observer, this would try to push but can't because of a hopper. And then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ticks later, this will push, which will, do something like this. Because this is double pulse, so after 2 ticks, this will give a double pulse. And a very long delay afterwards, you will have this observer that will push again, so this will push. And this goes here, and because this is double pulse, it would, double pulse this, and the closing is finished. And the opening, this will pulse, does nothing. This will pulse, and then you will see this action, like so. Now, this is the part that we need to explain. So, a double pulse after 2 ticks here will facilitate what? It will facilitate this push because of the trick we've seen in the double extender previously. So this is able to push, but then this also QCs this besides this. So these two pistons would pulse simultaneously, and this piston obviously won't be able to grab this piston because they are both extended, so this will only do this. But then what happens afterwards is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 5 ticks. The reason is a double pulse, so after 1 tick, and then 2 ticks from the first double pulse, and then 2 ticks afterwards because this needs to push up, so that's 5 ticks. And then 4, so 9 ticks, 10, yeah, this will pulse, and this is able to get QC by here, and it will retract by itself. And to see why, so let's just consider this 4 tick repeater only. So this is from 1 to 2, and if you want to consider it as well, 5 to 6, 0 to 4. So yeah, so 1 to 2, this piston will be able to extend at 3.5, which it does because 3.5 is within 0 to 4. So it will push and retract, and yeah, it will retract at 5, and obviously this cannot be pushed any further because this only retracts at 5. It can only be extended at 6.5, which is way over 5 to 6 already. So yeah, that works. And then here we will have this that pulses, and this here, and the trick from the bottom double again would QC this, and then this here would do extra 2 pulses from this 4 tick powering this observer to this observer, this hopper to this observer, and then do 2 more dirt pulses here, but it won't work. So it's basically that. Oh, and also this observer going down won't really power this hopper, if I'm not wrong. Let me see. Yeah, this observer going down won't power this hopper. So that's that for the left. And for the right, it's actually quite similar, except here we have a toggle now. We don't really care about the pulses previously. The toggle would prevent this from powering at the wrong time because we only have a dust here. So what happens is the same, it's quite similar, not the same, similar. A double pulse here, and then this does nothing. And then now we have this. Then after 2 ticks afterwards. Why is it 2 ticks? Because 1, 2, this is 2, but then here is 1, 2, 3, 4 here. And then it will do this, and again double pulse, it will do its retraction. And for the opening, this won't do anything. This would do that. And then yeah, so this is expected. I previously explained it. But then what happens is, this is a double pulse going all the way through these 7 observers. So if you do a double pulse here, what will happen is, of course, the first pulse will directly retract this, and the second pulse, because this does also sees this piston via this block, it would self-retract. Because that's how double pulses work, essentially. And then for the here it will retract, and then does this, and then again 2 more redundant pulses from the double pulse that is necessary for the retraction, but it still works. So yeah, so that's for the bottom triple, not the bottom, the side triples. Now for question 10 will be the top fold triple. So they are basically all connected from the side triples. And because I didn't really explain much about the side triple timing, so let's just see how when this powers versus when this powers. So the top triple, the first thing you need to know is that this hopper is powered from this pressure plate. This actually gives 3 pulses. So if we see here, 1, 2, 3, and then it does its thing. So yeah, so 1, 2, 3. It's odd number of pulses, and so yeah, it works. The second thing you need to know is this is a 4 tick. This is a 4 tick. So all you need to know is to see how the timings work. So these 2 dusts are identical, so let's just use them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 19, 20, and 21. 20 and 21, but this is a 4 tick repeater, so there are 2 pulses. So one is at 20 to 21, one is at 24 to 25. Same for here, 21 to 22, 25 to 26. Now let's look at this side. From this dust, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is 4 ticks, so 14, 18, 22, 23. So 23 to 24 and 27 to 28. So now we actually know the timings here. So what will happen then? Now notice that these 2 are basically, oops. These 2 are basically alternating. And yeah. And if we do we need to? You don't really have to. So at this position, or let's do that. So at 20, this will push. Piston parity would force this to push at 21. At 23, what will happen? This. So this dust powers this piston, and powering the block, quasi powering this here. So this piston will update here, and it will always spit it actually for the extension. And yeah, so we don't have to worry about that because it's a one-tip pulse. So yeah, so 23 to 24 it will do this, and now the 24 to 25 pulse here won't be able to retract this because this is this retracts at 24, meaning that it's only able to get retracted at 25.5, which is larger than 25 and not within the bound 24 to 25. So this works. And then 25 to 26, this powers. It's not the top one, it's this one. The reason is because this just got extended from 23 to 24. And again, piston priorities would force this piston to power first. So, yeah. And then 27 to 28. And again, piston priorities would force this piston to return. So it always forces the front piston to return, to extend and return or pulse. So, yeah. So that's basically that. And then for the final retraction, so 20 to 21, this goes here. 21 to 22, this pulses here. 23 to 24, this pulses here. This is unable to extend here. And then 25 to 26, this would push because again, piston priorities. 27 to 28, this pushes again. So you see two third pulses finally. But then because it's two pulses, it will work. Like so. So that's basically how the top triple works very nicely. And it should be much easier to comprehend compared to the bottom. Size is also quite easy, to be honest. So that's all the timings and working principle explained for this door. And you should have a very solid understanding of how the door works. But then we need to go further because we are interested in, looking at the creation of a record. So for the second part, I'm going to explain to you how you can construct your piston powering layouts, how you can do some nice sequencing, and what are the input joins or some input methods that are good for this door. So let's go on. Question 11. So we go to here. How do you construct a piston layout for this door? And specifically in 576 blocks and without slime and honey blocks. Because with slime and honey blocks, there's a separate record for that already. Now, one of the first concepts is making this door flush, because by making this door flush, we actually reduces one layer. So that's helpful. Now, just a side note, the 5x5 cave door actually does not use the flush concept. It is literally, I think it's 5 wide. Yeah, it's 5 wide, but it still is the smallest. The reason is it doesn't use the layer here. It only uses top, bottom, and the sides probably only uses this layer to send signal upwards. So yeah, it's a very interesting concept, but for the 6x6 it's not really that possible because for that to happen, you need to control all of this row as triples. And all of this row as triples from the bottom, so it's not really that possible. So for now, we are only going to do the very standard stuff, which is to just make it flush, and then just retract it from any side. That would make this easy by using the minimum piston extended length principle, or whatever I call that. So by this principle, we would do singles like this. Yes, that's the shortest distance. we can pull, like so. And of course the doubles as well. So these are all apparent. You only have one solution for these. Same for sides. And as you build the extenders responsible for the door blocks, you can remove the door blocks. So it's a good habit of marking which door blocks that you have completed, otherwise you might underdo or overdo extenders. And sometimes it will mess you up completely. And then for the top ones, it's a bit harder to place for the top actually. Okay. And I think I removed too many blocks. Okay. So now we have these blocks left. For the triples, the idea is to have every single side, top, bottom, two sides, be responsible for one triple. And because we want it to be in 576 blocks, we would want to follow this. And the sides will be like this. Oops, one to the top here as an example, sides here. So yeah. But then for the doubles here, the ambiguous ones, because we can pull it from either the two sides, we have to decide which is better. And usually we won't really decide it until we actually see how we wire things. And yeah, so we have decided that bottom is too much, so we place it on the sides for this. During the wiring process, we know that yeah, we have to put it at the sides instead of the bottom. But then here for the top two, we actually use the top instead, because sides would be too much. So it really depends on how you plan to wire things, and you choose the two-way ones in whichever way you would decide. And for these, I prefer them at the top and bottom because you can make use of the circuits that I previously shown you, and making use of piston priorities to do some brilliant stuff in a very small space. So it's usually preferred at top and bottom for these. The size is actually a bit harder to control. It still works, it's just harder to control. There are also some alternative methods that I can show you. I didn't use it in this door or in any other doors, but then yeah. So the alternative method, just is this. How this works is this goes here, this goes here, this goes here, this goes, this retraction is here. So this is developed by CubeMaster. At least that's where I first saw it. But then, yeah. I don't really use this because it's actually quite a bit complicated. Or it can be complicated, and this is actually a bit simpler. For these blocks, I use this because I really like this observer here. It does a lot of things, so I do here. But then for these blocks, I can't really tell you the perfect answer. The reason is this door has actually 3 versions, and the latest version, which is this here, has the pistons here, but version 1 places here, and guess what? Version 2 does this. It's a hybrid. Yeah, I know. So there aren't really correct answers, and you can do any combination of them, literally. I won't tell you the perfect answer for this, but just know that it works, and any combination works, to be honest. So yeah, very funny indeed. So I'll just leave these 2 blocks here and move on to question 12, which is to construct a powering layout based on our piston layout. Let's start with the bottom. The doubles obviously require some observers, so we just place 2 here. Meanwhile, these pistons need observers, so place 1 here, place another 1 here. These are also responsible for the side doubles at this position and this position, so very nice. The triples, well, you need this, basically, because we need to push this observer, push it up, like so, to power the piston here. Now for the sides, we know the doubles require some retraction, and while we can still do it from here for this double, we can't really. To control both of them at the same time, the best solution is to do this, so as to not to give any burden to here. So same for this side. The side doubles obviously still need to extend, so we place observers here. And same thing for the side triples, so we place them here and here. And lastly, the flush pistons, we will place some observers for them. Like so. For the top, we place dust here for the triple, here, here, and usually I like to already place one of the very nice input joints, because that's probably the only viable way for you to do this. And then obviously the doubles need observers. So yeah, that's basically it. Obviously you can have some further planning for the inputs. For example, you can have something like this, or in my case, I would use something, like target blocks. And then there are also some extra ones that you can place, for example here for the doubles, because I really like the using piston parties stuff to do it. So yeah. And for the bottom, some people like to, or previously I like to do something like this, but this time I didn't use it. But you can do that. Or you can use something like how I did, but this should be part of the circuitry, to be honest. So yeah, you can also do something like this. But yeah, you probably would know it when you wire the door, but I'll just leave these out, I guess, because it really depends on how you wire the door. But for the remaining ones, it's kinda quite obvious. So yeah, so that's question 12 explained. So let's get on to question 13. So we are interested in our sequencing now. And the sequencing we want to do firstly is for the bottom for the triple. So let's just name our inputs as A and B like this, you know. Yeah. So let's just create our minimum move sequence. It is useless to power this with input A, so we just do input B. And as previously explained by the timing section, yeah, this works. And then here we would counterintuitively do A, and then we do B. And of course for a reason, as also explained in the timing section. So our sequence would be B, A, A, B. If you would like to write that down, you can. So how do we improve it? Well, we just make it more repeatable, and the obvious way is to add A. But then there are two ways to do this: A, B, A, B, or B, A, B, A, B, A. So yeah, both works because of this obsidian. A, B, A, B. And versus B, A, B, A. And as a bonus question, which one do you prefer? The answer is, hopefully, is obviously A, B, A, B. The reason is quite simple. If we do A, B, A, B, we can actually do A even before B. Oh, sorry, we can actually do B even before A, because B has a 4-tick delay, but then yeah, we don't really need that 4-tick delay, so you can. The timings is very flexible essentially. But then for BA, you are restricted that only after all the moves of B has finished, then you can power A. So yeah, it's very flexible for ABAB compared to BABA, because BABA, you know, this is 4-tick pulse connected to this piston, which creates 4 double pulses, and you will need to wait until like 10 ticks of delay, which is not nice. We don't really have that much space to fit in this much delay, and more delay means more space for you to waste on just to create delay, and which is not nice. So yeah, that's why we prefer ABAB. We usually prefer the option with the less delay. We want things fast, at least. So yeah, so that's the bottom sequence for the triple, and we can now look at the top for the triple. Now this is a bit more complicated, so it really requires me to guide you a bit more. And I also previously explained this exact sequence in the 7x7 funnel, also Slimeblockless. But yeah, hopefully one of the two videos will explain a bit better. That I think it will be the 7x7 funnel that will explain a bit better, because that is when the time I developed the sequence. But I'll try to explain here as well. So for the minimum move sequence, what do we do? Powering B would break things. Powering C doesn't really work, or isn't helpful. We do A. Okay. We do A, and then here there are some options. We can do some very funny things. into B2 is a bit counterintuitive, but you will see why, I would say. But now, probably the less counterintuitive way is to do B and then C, because that will extend this. So ABC looks least counterintuitive. So ABC. And now here's the thing. What do we do after ABC? We basically need to retract the middle piston. Retract the front piston by the middle piston. And by the power of timings and piston priorities again, we can power this middle piston without worry. And we can do it from A or from B. Both works actually. B won't be able to retract this piston. And yeah, again, I already explained it in the timing section. So yeah. So all we need to do is to either power A or B, and then we do C at the precise timing that would make use of the piston priorities instead of using locationality. So we do C. And then here, we can do B, C as well. Or if you just want to use one input, which should be simpler, we can use B2, which is now why it's more useful. Because doing B2 helps with the final retraction, essentially. So overall, it will be better for you to look at the documents because I can't really write that precisely here. I will only write the basic news. A B2 or B, C, then it will be either AC or BC. And then lastly, it will be B2 or BC. Or like so. So that's the minimum sequence. How to improve it? The previous way I try to improve it is to look at AC. The reason for AC is because they're on the same side. So for some cases, it's easier to control it by AC. Because BC are on different sides, and as much as you want to connect them using input joints, you're going to be crossing over some extenders. And it might be possible, but most cases it's not. So yeah, but so yeah, the case for AC is they're on the same side. So so the previous case, I think, is both works actually with suitable timings, like so. But then, as I, went on further, we actually have. So yeah, as we go on further, we actually have 3 segments. well, how should I say it? A is a separate segment, B2 is a separate segment, CAC and ACAC is the first segment. Yeah, it's not that good. What we can see here is that if we rely on the third row, BC here, it's actually a bit nicer. So what we can do instead is like so. And previously, the timing spire also explained why this works. But what you see differently is that A is a segment, B2 is a segment, ACAC is a segment, or CACA. B2 is not, the last B2 isn't a segment because some sequences can repeat B2, basically. And we also need some toggles for A and ACAC. So, yeah. But then here, it is very clear that it only has two segments, A and BC. And all we need to do is just have a toggle on A and a BC, just like pairwise. So, yeah. And the way how you can look at the minimum move sequence to improve the sequence is just to note the key parts that are repeat. So here, previously I looked at B2 and ACs. So to create the sequence, so A, B2, AC. Or I should say A, B2C. And then ACAC. So yeah, it's a bit more complicated. But yeah, previously I looked at A and B2 and I look at B2 and AC to create the sequence. But then if we notice A and BC, BC just repeats all over again. So it's actually better to, just add the two redundant BC pulses at last, and then fit in the sequence like so. So yeah, hopefully you will understand the concepts of creating a repeatable sequences. And I should, yeah. So that's basically the top folded triple. And the previous sequence I will scrap that because it's really not our main focus, but just to tell you the history of the triples sequence for the top. So yeah, anyways, so that's question 14 rambled. Question 15 is for the sides. The sides, even though both sides have different powering circuits, they behave very similarly. So let's just see. The minimum move sequence applies on both sides nicely. So powering A doesn't help, so we do B. And then we can do A, B. So that's the closing. B, A, B. Nothing else. For the opening, we'll of course do B. And then C is for the retraction, so we do C. And then we do A, B. So opening is B, C, A, B. And we can also verify on the side that it works. So B, A, B. Because C is literally just a retraction, and B and A is literally the same. And then for the opening, B, C, A, B. So now we will improve our sequence. So how do we do that? usually we look at the sequence with more moves. Or to say it more precisely, we look at the union of the two sequences. And the union would be BCAB. But then how can we improve from BCAB? Well, we can note that it doesn't really hurt to do C after B, especially because B will have this observer here, which can directly connect to C. So B and C can be a group, and then all we need to do is just control A, then C. So yeah, B, C, A, B, C. So it will derp at last, but it doesn't really. It isn't that bad. So BCABC would be the improved sequence. Obviously, you can say, hey, I can improve it better. And indeed, yes, you can improve it for the left. You can do it with either ABC, ABC, or BCA, BCA. Because there is an immovable block here, so you can power A whenever you want. Basically, even though for the right it will break because this does here, but then for the left you can do whenever you want, basically. So yeah, you can do that. So yeah, you can add A at whatever you desire. So we can add it at the front or at the back. So hence we will have ABC, ABC, or BCA, BCA. And bonus question, which is better again? And hopefully the answer is also obvious to you. This door, we have an assumption that we power from bottom to top. It is helpful in partial because of the sides. This direction is going upwards, so everything goes up is better. And the second reason is because controlling from the bottom is better, in my opinion. So if the circuit flow is from bottom to top, it would be sensible for us to do ABC, ABC. Oh, and also because of this observer that would already power this piston. So this observer is originally responsible for the doubles retraction. But then for the left side, it also does our triples. So yeah, basically double use. And since the double retraction happens quite early, basically, it's better for us to do ABC, ABC. So yeah, that's basically that. And moving further to question 16, what are possible input joins? You see the solutions here. Basically, all you need to do is just to connect between B and C. So we do that, and for the right side, we do this. It looks like a lot of observers, and some of you might be wondering after some experimenting, won't this work already? The answer is no for the extension. Because let's just see what happens, you know. Whoops. Doesn't look like a good thing already. Whoops. So yeah, it doesn't really work. So yeah, we need actually one more tick of delay. You can also count it from some analysis of timings, but I'm not going to do that. It's too daunting. So yeah, that's basically that. So all we need to do is just make sure that it has sufficient delay. And yeah, for this side, we just use a sticky piston like this. And also, by the way, you can actually put it down like this. But this is only put in the up position because of the top triples. So I'll explain that a bit more later. And now for question 17, which I also partially explained it in question 15, where should the inputs be positioned? there are two answers that I accept. One is at the top, one is at the bottom. The only reason I place it at the bottom is historical reasons. Basically, I prefer it because that's how I did many of my doors before. I use bottom input, and I'm very used to bottom inputs. I have a lot of circuits that I can just basically take it from my previous doors and just slap it onto this door, and that's why bottom input is more preferable to me. But then it doesn't really, it isn't wrong, and in fact it's also very viable for you to place it at the top. Although you might not want to use this layout, I would say. You might want to place your pistons on the sides, the doubles. So just do some careful consideration for you when deciding on the two-way extents. And moreover, just to explain a bit more, don't put it on one side or the other, I would say. Usually that doesn't end well because you basically need to build two different sides. Although in this actual door there are also two different sides, essentially, but then they are still very identical already. And this door, there are many identical parts for the sides, and if you build your input on one side, you'll need to manage a lot of different input circuit flow things, which is probably not nice. So yeah, I'm not sure for the case of putting it on the sides. It doesn't really help too much, in my opinion. Might even harm. So yeah, that's basically that. So we finished our explanation in the layout construction, sequencing, and input joins, blah blah blah. Yeah. So the final section would be the planning and redstone analysis. The main questions I'm going to answer is: why is the current layout being used? What should be noticed when wiring the door? And what are the tips and tricks when used within the door? So for this section, it's a bit less than before. There are only six questions, so let's go on. So question 18, we are interested in why do I only use two bottom doubles and put them on the sides instead. So the two other doubles, I put it on the sides instead. And if it's possible to add more. And yeah. So previously, I think I have another extended video. It should be level 2. That I told you that you can use a dropper double like this, and then you can also do this. And this is actually used in one of my previous doors, or several. I use them a lot. But then the unfortunate thing is that the bottom triple requires this. This observer would update this dropper, which would make the dropper lose its buttered state. So yeah, that doesn't work, unfortunately. But then you might ask, we can still use alternative methods, right? The answer is yes. But then if we look back on how the top double works, essentially you need to pulse the top pistons. So in here you will need to pulse the bottom pistons if you are using floating pressure plates, for example. But then just to give you a graphical illustration of what's going to happen is this: how are you able to pulse all 4 pistons from this side, because on the other side you will get landlocked by pressure plates already. So how do you pulse all of the 4 pistons here? You might think, oh, I can do that. Just do something, I don't know, like this. redstone isn't that hard, right? You know, that works already. And what are you even complaining about? Of course, there's more to that. And now the question is how you're going to power these two front pistons. So yeah, and the whole situation basically would get a lot more complex. And if you're using that, you probably want the top inputs because the bottom input won't be really suitable for you. And in addition, how do you even control it? And now you think of it, oh, I actually want to use a bottom input, but then you already restricted a lot of your choices on this basically. So it's not really that viable. I'm not saying it's entirely impossible, it's just not viable. So it's not optimal for, at least in my opinion, that you place more doubles at the bottom. Yeah, placing on the side, although it might add a little cost, but then yeah, so it's better to illustrate again. So previously, if you see some of my previous cave doors, you see some circuits like this, but then this won't work for this, but it doesn't really hurt because to remedy, we only need this. So the slider would go up to here and then do this and then go down to here to do this. The only additional thing that we need to do is just to control the retraction like this. And this isn't as costly as you would do for the bottom doubles. So yeah. So that's why I prefer to put it on the sides, basically. So yeah, that's basically that. So question 19. Here I wrote, can the position of the top folder triple be flipped and if it is optimal? So my answer is no for the top. If you try to flip it, let's see what happens. It will be like this. You essentially eliminated the use of pressure plate doubles because it would affect this piston and will break things. And while you might think it's possible to time it things or something like that, no, it really doesn't because you do affect this hopper. So yeah, not really, fortunately. So for the top, the answer is no. But then now let's explain on what should be taken caution when wiring the bottom. The answer might be a bit surprising because very few of you might realize what happened. It is regarding on the bottom doubles. So see, the thing is, we previously had this water kit, and it's actually very easy to wire something like this. So you know, we can just have a dust here and then an observer here going to a vortex and then going here. You know, it's very easy to do this. But then you can notice what happens. So previously what this will happen is everything would work as intended. But you know, what will happen when we do the solution that I just said? Yeah, first thing, this won't really work. I forgot why, but yeah, anyways, so probably because of some updating. But then the main point is this. Because the sides are, the triples are now too slow. This causes the doubles to get updated on the last pulse, because if you remember, there's a third pulse for the due to the last pulse. And if in the unfortunate case of the previous circuit that we just built, it is too slow such that some moves of this would update on the last pulse of these two pistons, and this would cause things to fail for the retraction of the bottom double. So yeah, that's why it doesn't work, and hence the solution is to do something like this. This is the fastest way that I found that's able to work, and it works. So yeah. So that requires some caution for you. So that will be the bottom one. Now for question 21 is wiring the sides. So what should be taken caution? And that relates to the things that I previously mentioned. Is the first thing is that the delay for the side triples have to adjust for the top triples. And yeah, the reason is pretty much explained here, because the top triple relies on the precise timings between this and this. This also means that the sides have to adjust for it, and also notice that the sides have to also work in conjunction with the doubles. And now I can finally explain why the side doubles are built different, because there are interference from the doubles and interfering the doubles, so it's a to and from reaction. So yeah, it can be interfered by the doubles, it can also interfere the doubles. So let's just see what happens essentially. So here I use this instead. The reason is quite intuitive, because if I instead use a 4 tick and this here, the standard one, you would notice that there's 1 tick delay for here, but then a 2 tick delay from this to this. So the doubles would fail obviously because it receives a 2 tick pulse. So yeah, it fails. So that's why we need to use some alternative. When I was building this door, I used something like this once at a time. Well, yeah, once upon a time, but then yeah, it doesn't really work still. So yeah, this is the final solution. And even then, there's still one more thing that would cause some chaos, you would say. You can see if we remove this block, the extension would work fine, but the retraction, oh look, this piston got extended. Whoops, what happened to it? The reason is because of the closed position is like this. So when this observer pulses, this piston here would update this piston here, here, such that it would take this. Oh no. Our solution? Oh, just quasi power this again with 1 more tick of delay. So 1, 2 versus 1, 2, 3. So this is power at least at 2 tick, and thus it won't 1 tick this. It will instead retract it. It will just use a little dirt, but then it would be fine. So yeah, now it does something like this instead of 1 ticking. So that's why the left requires this instead of this, and then the extra precautionary thing, powering this dust, But then for the right side, what happens then? Why do we need this standard solution instead of, you know, having this. Now we want to have this here. The reason is this piston pulls back this observer. Yes, there's an updater, so it would pull this. So for the second pulse, it shouldn't realize that it should push again. That's what should happen. But then instead there's an updater here which will make it realize, oh, I should push again, so I pushed. So whoops, and then the retraction will leave out the block, and then like this. So basically it doesn't work. So basically it's because of if we left out this piston here, it would be an updater which would break things. So that's why we cannot leave this out, and hence the circuit won't work, and we should resort back to our very normal voltage extender. That is the correct reasoning. Okay. So yeah, that's question 21. And now question 22, what should we take in caution when wiring the top? Yeah, because we are using pressure plates here, at least that's an assumption, this would get blocked. We also need to wait for this hopper to do the 3 pulses for this. So yeah, so that's the cautionary part. So that also means that the sides have to, you know, wait for the top doubles to do its own thing before it can power these things. So yeah, that's also the reason why the sides also needs some delay just to accommodate for the top, and also the reason why this is not in down position but in up position, and many other reasons. So yeah, so that's the cautionary part for the top. And finally, the last question, what are the tricks used at the bottom? First trick is here. This one. I probably have explained in one of my videos, or is left an exercise, whatever. But essentially what this does is that this is a toggle, right? But then we detect it from this position instead. So what happens is that, contrary to some popular belief that it might do 3 pulses, it actually only does 1 for both edges. If you face it on the other side, it would do 3. But then because it's on the same direction, it only does 1. The reason is because the observer retracting doesn't give block updates. So it only does 1. The second trick is also what we have investigated in question 7, is the use of signal strength, because we have interference from this observer. That's why we need signal strength of 15. So that's also a trick, I guess. So yeah. So yeah, that's that, I guess. So that already explains all of the questions that I have in this video, but I guess I can also talk a bit more on this door. So yeah, once again, big thank you to these 2 people that created basically the bottom sequences and also the side sequence, although the side sequence is created independently multiple times, but yeah. It's also very nice for them to remind me, oh hey, this sequence is actually quite simple and it also works. So yeah, side is also one of the hard parts to figure out if you don't have the sequence, if you don't have the proper sequence. So yeah. So yeah, thanks to them for reminding the sequences and, you know, collaborating on the door as well. They also figured out some very nice circuits. For example, this fixing part is what they have figured out. And yeah, basically this double part is what they figured out, and along with the sequences that they made. So, you know, yeah. So if they have any YouTube channels or something, I'll also link them in the description and also in the name cards as well. And one final thing is that this door is able to be completed in a very short time, under 12 hours, just under 12 hours, basically. And the reason why is because of, not to brag, but my experience, essentially. Because there are a lot of circuits that you might recognize in my previous doors already. For example, this part should be from my 7x7 cave, and this sequence is from the 7x7 funnel. So yeah, there are a lot of experience required to, you know, wire things very fast and effective. And yeah, the more experience you have in creating doors, you would be able to think of solutions very quickly. Because sometimes redstoning isn't just about the creativity, it's also talking about experience. So you basically, you know what works and what doesn't already when you have first sight. And you also would have a memory, a library of circuits that you know that works, and you can just slap it onto this door and you know that it works. And that's also one of the reasons that make this door possible and fast. So yeah, the moral is, you know, just build more, I guess. Yeah, because as much as I can teach you, your redstoning experience is extremely valuable to your success. So yeah, that's basically that. So I'll just stop rambling here, and I'll go on to introducing you the exercise questions as well. So the first question is, you've probably seen some similar setups in my Combat Redstone series. Basically, you know, the right side, it has this as a solution, but then there's also some other solutions. So I want you to think of an alternative solution that would make the bottom flush piston folded double piston extender work. So yeah, an alternative solution. And of course, I also added these circuitry here just to remind you that you should not interfere these or get interfered from the circuits. And of course, you also have to make sure that the 2-tick and the redstone dust is able to be placed. So yeah, so that's the first question. So hopefully you can solve that. You also would want to apply your timings knowledge into here, because you would need to find the correct amount of delay to make the bottom flush piston folded double piston extender to work. So yeah. And the second question is here. So can this 2-tick repeater or 4-tick repeater be set to any other delay? And explain why or why not. So yeah, try to explain it using your timings knowledge, and yeah, should be fine for you. So you can also see from this module here. The third question is, I will introduce you a new concept, or maybe it's a concept that I'll also teach in 3-4, but basically, the concept is called leeching. Leeching means a circuit that would take outputs from other circuits which control other components. Yeah, that is not the component that we're trying to control. So basically, I want you to find circuits and examples from circuits that control the top triple that uses leeching. So where has it taken output from circuits that control other stuff that is not the top triple, and making use of the other circuits to control the top triple? I want you to find some examples in the top triple circuits. And also, I want you to explain the benefits of leeching from the examples. So yeah. And yeah, because leeching is a very, how do you say, a very useful thing to do. And you can basically see the examples of leeching across many of my other doors and many of the other doors that the talented people have done. So I want you to find examples of leeching and explain the benefits. So hope you to familiarize, consolidate your wrestling skills based on some abstract concepts or techniques, I guess. So yeah, hopefully the exercises will help you learn through your compacting journey in piston doors. Yeah. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video and hope you learned something. As always, the resources, the work download, the documents, so on and so forth are going to be in the description below, as well as to these wonderful people who have helped create the door with me. If they have YouTube channels or some external links, I'll leave them in the description as well. And also the mods and resource packs, in the description below as always. So yeah, I'll stop rambling. Thank you for watching this explanation video, and I'll see you in my next video.